Welcome this week in Missouri politics with a relatively uneventful veto session. The biggest news of the week is the governor announced. So here we are talking about the governor's race with two folks. David Barklage, dean of the Missouri Republican Party, working for a PAC that may be in support of Mike Parson, correct?
Correct.
Patrick Lynn, a longtime Democratic operative, and I guess in this case, family member to Nicole Galloway.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, how is that? Now, as we call it back in Butler County, shirt tail Ken, how close?
It's be shirt tail. She's married to my nephew.
Let's talk right off the jump about primaries. Yeah. It's odd that Governor Parson's the incumbent, but the primary on the Democrat side is nothing, right? Crickets. It's all Nicole Galloway. Is that correct?
Correct. I believe it'll stay that way. I'm sure someone will file, but I don't see any real candidates.
Yeah, when Claire McCaskill stepped aside, it really looked like all the attention went to Nicole Galloway, and folks waited on her decision. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
correct.
Scott Sept has announced he's not going to run.
Right.
David Barklage, the Republican side, it is an odd dynamic. It's the governor who did come to the office from the lieutenant governor's office. You would naturally think, though, being the incumbent, you wouldn't hear the primary talk, but you do have one state rep. An interesting thing, you have an old sheriff against the guy whose legislative record is a lot of medical marijuana stuff, Jim Neely. And then you have, obviously, the former governor, Eric Greitens. Everybody talk on the name of many people's lips these days as a potential candidate. Will there be a primary opponent other than Jim Neely for Mike Parson?
Look, primary opponents don't bode bad. If you look at Chris Koster was ahead all the way to the day of the general election. He had no real primary. He had no way to really measure how strong he was running where the Republicans did, and it ended up propelling Eric Greitens in a multi-primary.
Good day for Mike Parson. Obviously, I don't think anybody thought Mike Kehoe or Eric Schmidt was going to run against him. When Jay Ashcroft decides not to run against him, that was a good day for Mike Parson. If he doesn't have a serious primary opponent, I think you'd take that, right?
Well, I would, but I would also note that in the last week, he has gotten, as of today, or as of the filming of the show, he has gotten almost the complete support of the agricultural community. Mm-hmm. He has gotten almost the complete support of both the House, Senate, and statewide caucuses for the Republicans. I think the State Committee will be forthcoming with an endorsement. I think you will see the Chamber, Missouri Right to Life. You will see many groups lining up behind this governor. So to
was
the
extent, guy you feared Ashcroft, though, in all honesty?
No. I mean, Jay Ashcroft is a team player. He's endorsed us, so that's one more leg sort of taking away the stool. To the fact, and to just address Eric Greitens, is that Eric Greitens is going to have to run again as an outsider. And without any money support, I think the money is lining up behind the governor. So what support does he really have other than, sort of a small cadre of donors outside of the state? So I think it is be a very strong challenge if Greitens does run.
Donors came in 3 years ago and bought that Republican primary from outside the state.
Yeah, but that wasn't against an incumbent popular governor. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about money. Nicole Galloway's running against an incumbent governor. Obviously, Governor Parson is going to have plenty of money to run a full campaign. I guess the first thing you have to stop and think about in the race is, can she put together the money to mount a serious effort?
Yeah, she can. She's a strong fundraiser. I've been very impressed with her work ethic. And also, I think the race is going to, to a certain extent, going to be a national race. Democratic Governors Association really have no other race to focus on.
And especially being a woman nominee, a serious statewide elected official that's a woman. I think part of the Democrat Party's ethos, especially these days, means national Democrats are going to want to fund her.
Yes.
And that's got to be something that helps in her pitches, right?
Yes. I think she's the only female candidate for governor running in a state that passed an 8-week abortion ban. I think that'll bring a lot of attention. Like I said, the DGA, I think most of her other governor races this year are either deep red or deep blue states. This is really the only one
Missouri and North Carolina, maybe the other would be competitive.
Yeah, maybe.
So the interesting part of that is if it's nationalized, there's probably a lot of money for Nicole Galloway to support her. Probably not a lot of it on the west coast of the Mississippi River. It's on the west coast of the United States. I've not seen Missouri voters take it out on politicians taking money from out of state. That's where she's got to go to really get the money, right?
I would agree. I mean, we were just talking about Eric Greitens, so his money was from out of state. I mean, I think both parties like to, criticize the other candidate about where their money came from. Sure. But I don't think it's actually. That's not why voters make a decision at the end of the day.
I think you point out that she's not going to win it if it's an in-state race. In other words, there's not enough in-state support for her from a standpoint financially. You've got the governor who's reached across party lines, who's got the support of major components of the Democratic community. I think that you will see that continue to grow. I think the problem is that I agree. I mean, one, she's a decent person. Two, Patrick's assessment, she may be the only race, et cetera. But I think past that, it gets a lot harder for her. This is a state, Trump just endorsed the governor, a state that Trump won by 19 points. He'll continue to win the state in the election. You don't have, a whole lot backing behind her in terms of other energy. You got a few ballot initiatives that don't bode well. The biggest problem for Nicole, though, is that you have this progressive domination of the party nationally. And so when she runs in St. Louis and Kansas City, if she's not a progressive like Bernie, she loses the energy that's really driving the Democrat Party. So if she comes out and she says, I'm nothing like Bernie, I'm nothing like Elizabeth, I'm nothing like anybody else in my party, well, then she loses that energy just to try to get those remaining struggling outstate Democrats. So I think the problem she has is if she wants to win outstate, she has to be one kind of Democrat. If she wants to win in St. Louis and Kansas City, she has to be another. They're not compatible. I don't see how she lines those up. And she really hasn't answered the question where she stands with Bernie and Elizabeth Warren on those socialistic policies.
The National Party is not a help to Nicole Galloway.
Agree. And I'm out of line with the National Party, on most issues, like you say. The difference is,
and we don't correct each other.
At least, I think what you're going to see about Nicole is she's not a politician like that. It doesn't come to the table going, oh, well, I have to have this message for the urban areas, I have to have this message for the rural areas.
But let me say this, and you know this as good as anybody, right. I mean this as a friend, is that how problematic the progressive left is getting, like our Tea Party. The only difference between Republicans and Democrats are we don't care about inclusion, so we would fight with the Tea Party back and forth the establishment. You guys are inviting them in to make it complex. I don't see how she tells them that I'm not with you, and then they go out and work for her.
I think what they're going to what they like about her and why I don't think she has that same problem as, say, like Joe Biden has or someone like that, is she's a young woman in her mid-30s. She's strong, she's smart, probably maybe the smartest person we've ever had run for governor in the state of Missouri. And I think that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, that's what they like about her. They see themselves. They don't see, a 63-year-old man who looks like he's 70. And, that does good
they're holding him hostage, and everybody else that's in the center.
There's an observation about Nicole Galloway, though. I think she maybe knows who she is. And I've watched politicians, Republicans have the same problem. If you just know who you are, people, and you don't look like you're pandering to different groups, people are more likely to give you a pass on one or two issues. You're not as extreme as they are if you know who you are. And I think there's a sense about her that she knows who she is.
Yeah, I think what I find great about her is she did not grow up wanting to be an elected official. This is almost, her where she is today is almost like pure chance and based on merit. And I think
I don't know about merit. She got one appointment after another to get her where she is.
Yeah, because she was the best person for the job. Much like Gerald Ford became president. Yeah, much like Gerald Ford became president because he was he won that presidency on merit. They picked him because he was the best person.
I think one problem, though, just to address, and that is the fact that I still think the difference between her winning an uphill battle with Trump dominating the state is the fact she needs energy. And she may get their votes, but I just don't see their energy.
Well, let's talk about Trump for a second, though. No politician, state or national, has ever connected with Missourians in quite the way Donald Trump has. You look at the places where Democrats used to compete with the Republicans, the Boot Hill, Jefferson County, Eastern Jackson County. Those are places Trump overperforms every Republican. Boy, though, are you tied to a lightning rod, though? Is that can that keep going? Can it keep threading the needle?
Two things we're seeing. We're seeing a fundamental realignment. Missouri, being a border state, we've seen that realignment of conservative Democrats in Jefferson County, in Eastern Jack County, and in Randolph County, and the Boot Hill, just as you said. Those conservative Democrats have felt the party have left them. We're now seeing a movement, which you see in Jefferson County even more, in St. Charles County, in South County, in Northwest County, of union voters that were trades union people that support, immigration reforms or in certain kinds of immigration, nationalization, certain trade policies. They're being completely left again by the Democrat Party. So I think there's actually more people in play for us. But to the extent that you make that tie into Trump, Trump's supporting Parson. And the fact is, Parson is overperforming Trump among moderates, among women, among African Americans, all those categories. He is producing.
Give me a
for
Trump
him.
number. Where does he hit?
Trump number, I think he hits, well, it depends. If it's Bernie, if it's Elizabeth, if it's one of the 8
If it's
others.
Biden or if it's somebody else?
If it's Biden, he wins 54-46, worst case scenario. If it's
What if it's one
anybody
of the
else,
others?
it could be over 60%.
Give me, I guess Nicole Galloway has to hope Joe Biden.
Look, obviously a long ways away. There's what it is now. I think come election day, I think Trump's going to be under 10 percentage points, and I think that.
With Elizabeth Warren running against him?
If Joe
He's not gonna be the
if Joe
nominee.
Biden's the nominee, he could go to the Washington County
I want
Fair
to bet a
coming.
buck
Yeah.
with you that Joe Biden's going to be
You
the
could walk
nominee.
around the
Will you take that
Washington
bet?
County Fair in
Yeah.
Potosi with Joe Biden,
will.
and it would be embarrassing.
No.
A lot of the people that are on that stage with him.
Yeah.
But I mean,
would
between
not work.
Biden and the
Elizabeth
president,
Warren is Hillary Clinton again, and we don't need that in Missouri.
the problem
Well,
is
Nicole
that
Galloway.
Biden
Yeah.
erases Trump's liability with all these gaffes. I mean, to the extent that Trump tweets,
Okay,
it makes
there's
people uncomfortable.
gaff. No.
Biden gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. Can you
Biden
remember what
makes
he
a
did last
I
mistake.
night?
don't think
like-
Trump's making gaffes.
No, he's just
I'm saying
lying
it's
and
just
making mistakes.
the controversy of his Trumps.
Yeah.
The
Well,
comments that on him.
What
and
you
then
call Biden's
juxtapose
gaffes are
Biden's
like
gaffes.
typos in the Missouri Times newspaper. I mean,
There you go.
it happens.
And just like Joe
It's happening
Biden,
more.
just like Joe Biden, we own him and feel at home at the Washington County Fair. Let's talk about you mentioned female vote. That is where you think
Yeah.
Nicole Galloway would have the advantage. Plays
So
like
I
the
think,
second
like,
congressional
well,
district.
he's talking about polls right now, obviously, and
I brought mine. He did.
It's amazing. Actually, we've all seen polling. Neither one of them are really that well known. Even the governor,
Yeah, I don't
who's
think the
been there,
poll matters that
they're
much,
not.
yeah.
It doesn't matter right now. Yeah. So moderate women so far at this point are supporting him. Well, it's because they don't know him. And after we spend whatever. I mean, I'm sure this campaign is going to end up crazy. Nicole's going to have all the money she needs. It'll always
Confident in
look
that?
like he has. Yeah, I
Confident
think
in
at the end of the day, because. How important this race is to the country, along with just in
If it's
Missouri, the money
nationalized
will
in
be
Missouri,
there.
can you win if Trump's on the other side?
Yeah. I
Let me ask
think
you one of
because she's the anti-establishment one. She's not the establishment. Parson was handpicked by the Capitol establishment to be governor because they didn't like Greitens.
I'm writing this down.
Because they didn't like
Nicole
Greitens.
Galloway received an appointment from one of the most political governors of all time, Jay Nixon, to be the auditor.
Because she was the
also got
smartest
appointed
person
for
for
auditor.
it.
When
But
you
if he
say
was
that-
doing political, shouldn't
But
he
she
have
was a
done like
lapdog to him. She never
Well, I
said
think
a
if
word
Jay
a
about
Nixon-
him.
lapdog? She just criticized him in an
Oh, yeah,
audit
after
yesterday.
he leaves office,
Well, yeah,
after
she
leaves
did
office.
during his office.
When he had
During the
refunds
office.
and he was doing the same thing that Greitens and Parson did, whoops, there was
She
no
did
release on
at
it.
the
There was
time.
no statement.
There were
nothing.
audits while he was in office. She had audits that criticized
This
him
campaign
and
will
his
flush it out.
department.
This campaign will
Yeah,
flush it out. But the bottom
we'll
line is,
learn
I
the
worked with
true
Tom
thing.
Schweik.
Right.
There were audits that were rolled over. There were audits that weren't commented on, and she was blank. There wasn't one release anti-Nixon the entire time she was
David
there.
Barklage,
not
She showed her
David
partisan
Barklage,
That's
you will
not
say
true.
the selection of Nicole Galloway is added to his legacy,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it was a good
is
selection
good.
in hindsight. Jay Nixon made a good choice for the state of Missouri.
Smartest thing he ever did.
Well, let me ask you, Mike Parson was elected lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the down ticket to run with Nicole Galloway?
Well, we don't know, and it is critical for the Democrats because I think you need a ticket that reflects Missouri Democrats.
I mean, Spitfire.
Not the
I don't
ones-
think Scott Sifton's on that ticket.
No.
By his own choosing.
No.
Is Jill Shoup on that ticket?
Not at this
Do you
point. it
get
doesn't
Crystal
look
Quaid
like
to
it.
leave the minority leader's office?
I don't think so. at
Lauren
this
Arthur
point either.
doesn't seem like she's leaving. John Rizzo. I
I
start to
don't
wonder who's
think
on
the
that
ticket is going to have. Look, we'll see what happens. It's probably going to be a ticket of not elected officials, previously
Interesting.
elected officials.
Interesting.
We'll see, but it is important because we saw in 2016. I would say, we had a weak down ballot, and not that. Was the reason Koster lost, but I mean, you look at they do to a certain extent look
Republicans
at the
have a very
ticket.
strong down ballot right
They
now.
do.
By anybody. Last
do.
question. What does Nicole Galloway want to be talking about this time next year? What issue?
The economy,
And what does she want everyone else talking about? Same thing?
yes.
Heavy bet? So you think it's going to be a bad economy?
Well, I mean, of course.
Are
I
you
hope
hoping?
not.
Is that
No,
it?
I do
Are you
not hope.
hoping that
No.
your union brothers lose
But
jobs?
I don't want there to be a bad economy. But the economy, I mean, that's what voters really care
She
about.
can win on that message
the
of the
other
economy?
issues are not. I think there's still more issues with, the 8-week abortion ban. What she's talking about there is about the rape part. I mean, that is what she's been discussing about. This causes
Cole
a
and
rape
David,
victim to go for it.
On that, the reason the bill got passed was because the Democrats sat down, didn't stand up, didn't even speak about it. Now to come and say,
Well, I am not here to
hold on.
defend
Yeah.
the weakest
that's not fair.
the
Democratic
court has already
House caucus
overturned it. It's a
everywhere.
non-issue.
No one
but
in
here
the
is the
Senate
issue.
Democrat caucus voted for that bill. Is Joe Biden,
But
whether
they
he's a nominee,
didn't
the
stop
biggest
it, and
factor
they
in the
could have at
campaign?
the last minute.
Yes.
Is Joe Biden being the Democrat nominee the biggest factor in the
No.
campaign?
The fact that
What
the
does Parson
economy,
want to talk about?
Parson has created over 35,000 jobs in his first year. Unemployment at his historic lows.
So both of you talking about the economy.
And
this time,
infrastructure, he's put a whole bunch of money in infrastructure, given again your union brethren jobs, everything else. The point is, he's going to talk about bipartisan work to get things done. He's going to continue to do things.
pro-right
And-
to work.
and-
Union members are not going to vote for him.
Well, that's not what the polling says.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
They voted for Trump.
What
He
they do
hasn't been
privately, what they
defined
do
yet.
privately
All
versus
he's
at the
got is
polls.
like, oh, look at this nice, sweet old grandpa. That's not a nice, sweet old grandpa. He believes homosexuals are going to hell. He said that in 2015. That's not a sweet old
Have
grandpa.
your views changed over time? I know you. I knew when you worked at the governor's office.
He still has that view. When has he said he doesn't
We're
believe
going to have
homosexuals
both of you
are going
hold
to
these
hell?
views. We have to do this again.
We're
Bring
gonna
you
have to
back
get
as
our
this
gloves
campaign
on.
goes
Yeah.
on. This was fun. Thank both of you for coming and talking about the campaigns. It's going to be an interesting campaign. Maybe we're going to have to add a third seat in here at some point, but it'll be fun. Thank you both.
You got it.
It's fun.
Thanks.
We'll be right back. Pat White, speaking of his union brothers, is on the panel next. But do me a favor. After the show, go to showmissouri.com. We got to go to that Washington
Like,
County
let's
Fair,
get this pulling
sit at the
shit
Farm
out of
Bureau
my
booth, talk about all things Moses Austin and the history of Washington County. Showmissouri.com. We'll be right back after this.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
At Ameren, Missouri, we know what light can do. It draws people together and chases monsters away. And if you shine it in the right direction, it will light the path for the next generation, showing them what their tomorrow could look like and spotlighting the possibilities that lay in front of them. Investing in our community by lighting the way forward. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back. This week in Missouri Politics, Opinion Maker Panel Time. Pat White, congratulations on the Labor Day Parade in the books.
It's good to be back. We had a good crowd and great weather.
Glad to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
Representative Jim Murphy, South County, St. Louis. Thanks for being here, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Representative Donna Baringer, South City. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
First time on the show. Congratulations, Rasheen Aldridge. I guess we can call you Representative-elect, really, but we'll call you candidate for now. Congratulations on the nomination for the 78th.
Yes, sir. Only one on the ballot, November 5th.
You're replacing a person that'll be no stranger to anyone that watches this show, Bruce Franks, correct?
My big brother, Bruce Franks.
How's he doing?
He's doing real good. He's doing real good. He actually be back in town sometime this weekend. So he's doing a birthday party at the Flamingo over the next week. So he'll be back.
Well, good for if he's. I assumed he'd be at a party somewhere. There'll be people having fun. Representative Murphy, you're fresh back from special session.
Yes, I am.
A little bit uneventful. So you fixed a court ruling that is going to make people pay higher sales tax on their vehicles, right?
Yeah, we did, and it was important. I know we were accused of taking care of corporations, but what we really took care of was the citizens of
I saw the
Missouri.
city media. They would give you grief, but if the city media was at the pay window of the Department of Revenue and they'd planned on paying less and paid more, but those aren't the kind of people they care about, right?
Well, I will tell you, if you had a boat and a trailer and a motor and you went down and you went to trade it in, and they said, I'm sorry, we can only take your motor, you'd be upset.
Pat White, this is the kind of issue I think that your members actually understand that sometimes other people don't.
You know what? I don't disagree with that. I'm not a boat guy, so I've never traded a boat trailer and an outboard motor for a car. But I guess my opinion on that is I just thought there's other pressing issues at the state level that we need to be pushing. You know, we've got another young 3-year-old was killed today in North County, and and we've got crime, and we've got roads that need to be fixed, and is this something that could wait? It's a little out of my lane as far as what I follow, but when I read that we're up there spending time on that, I don't know, it seems like it's something.
There was a
that
deadline on it because she had a 180-day window. We couldn't wait until January to fix it.
And I get that.
Without
but
hurting
there's
citizens.
babies crying, they're dying, so I don't know.
That was Democrats' consistent message. I think they were pretty clear. Crystal Quaid sat in that chair and she said, look, we're not trying to make people pay more money. Because of this mishap, I think many Democrats voted for the provision. However, she wanted to talk about some other issues. You're somebody that Cole County grew up there, outstate Missouri. You understand people's relationship with guns. From urban Missouri to rural Missouri, your district is one that is hit hard by some of these gun crimes in and around your community. Is there a solution from the state level that, I understand addressing the situation, what would be something you could do to address it?
Well, first of all, there's not one simple solution, and there's not one person that's going to fix this. But there is a whole bunch of things that we can be doing. And so when I decided to stay in the city of St. Louis, my husband and I in 1995, we had over 300 murders in the city of St. Louis. So I went back and tried to figure out what did we do to make things a little bit different. And so crime went down, and then it started to slowly go up again. And so in 2014, we knew that guns on the streets in the city of St. Louis were an issue. And the mayor then, Slay, came up with what was called PIER, P-I-E-R, and it was a program to address everything, whether it's early childhood education, after-school programs, workforce development. It covered everything, and it gave timelines. So I went back and pulled that out, and I have sent that out to my people to say, hey, we need to go, let's stop meeting, let's stop talking, stop having meetings, and let's go back to what we know works and start implementing them. The only thing that's different now is the fact that anyone can have a gun. And so the guns are an issue. And while I have many family members who own rifles and hunting guns, they don't own assault weapons, and they don't walk around the streets with assault weapons.
Let me ask you a question. This is an issue that we talk about where this affects. It affects the district you're seeking to represent.
Absolutely.
This is something I'm a Twitter follower of yours, so I've seen you address it. What are some practical things the state government could do to actually help address the issue?
So, I mean, guns is definitely one thing I think we should and need to address. I mean, I'm a gun owner, and it's not about trying to take away people's right to have guns. It's making sure that people are responsible to have a gun.
What does that look like? Is you know red flag laws?
I mean, it's a red flag law, or even just having like a registry, right? So when situations happen, you register your car, you register your house, so being able to register a gun. So if a situation happens and you sell a gun to somebody and they happen to do a bad thing with this gun or commit a crime, right? We can kind of go back and start to trace these individuals. Right now, there's nothing out there if a situation is to happen with a gun and it's not the current gun owner, there's not even a lost and found registry, right? So there just needs to be some type of law, more stronger regulations around it, but not trying to, once again, take no one's guns away.
That's something I've heard many people articulate, and I've heard many people bring to the forefront. Jim Murphy, you just left a caucus room where that would get you kicked out of the room if you suggested it in the Republican caucus, correct? A registry for guns?
Yeah, absolutely. Our problem isn't a law because bad guys don't follow laws to begin with. The guns on the street aren't legal guns. They're stolen guns. They're illegal guns. The things we can be doing, I agree with everything you said. They're all things that are long-term plans here. But we have a short-term problem. We have gangs on the street that are killing our kids. And what are we doing about that? When we had a problem in the Loop, what did we do? We sent in our police. We put in a curfew. We policed it down to a manageable sum. The experts are telling me that there are 200 thugs on the street right now that are causing most of these problems. We need to police them out. We need to get in there and put a force in it and make this thing go away. And then take care of all of those things you're talking about because they're the long-term fix. But right now we got to stop our kids from being killed.
From an economic development standpoint, I know people, the Better Together programs are really, the concept's still not being floated, but you do get pulled over for a rolling stop in Baldwin where it seems like everybody wants regionalism until you take one of your cops writing rolling stop sign tickets and put them in to do those policings. There's an economic cost to some of these things.
If there's terrible crime in an area, a company's not going to relocate. Are not going to expand, and that's what we rely on. Yeah. We rely on the convention business. The Union hotels downtown. That convention center is full of union employees that I represent. And if the conventions aren't coming here because of the crime, then our folks aren't working. So there's a huge economic downfall to the crime rate, no doubt.
Jim, let's talk about Governor Parsons announced, Nicole Galloway's announced.
Yep.
Looks like down to two of them, maybe former Governor Greitens been talked about by some.
No.
But Governor Parsons off and running. A lot of your colleagues endorsed him this week.
I did.
Pretty successful launch so far. Why did you choose to endorse the governor?
Well, because he's level-headed.
Yeah.
Because I think he
So it
really
tells me the two of you would get along very well when you talk.
he speaks to the entire state. He doesn't talk to just the Republicans. He really, when he looks at the workforce development, there was a lot of conservatives that said, wait a minute, we don't want to spend all this money on that. But you know what? He was right. We need that.
Numbers
It's
don't lie.
part of the long-term solution to what we have. So he looks for what's good for the state, not necessarily what's good for the party. And I think that'll resonate.
Donna Baringer, Nicole Galloway is his announced Democrat challenge. Looks like she's going to be, maybe haven't heard anybody else serious really step up. You know Nicole Galloway. How does she take on Mike Parson?
Well, actually, what I'm more curious about is the fact that the governor did announce so soon. And then I heard rumors that Greitens was actually thinking about coming back into this race. So from that perspective, that would actually help Nicole Galloway.
Sure. Be very helpful.
I think that no one ever knows until we know what horses are in the race. I would never call anything now, but I do know she has a very good chance.
What do you think? You are part of the same generation of politicians, Nicole Galloway, just maybe from the younger end.
Mm-hmm.
Is she somebody that can excite a group of people that seem to vote when they are excited and don't when they're not excited?
I think absolutely. I was able this last election cycle to work when I was working with the Missouri Democratic Party, very close with Nicole Galloway. And when it comes to the issues that she's talking about, the things that she want to do is things that excite people. It's talking about how do we make sure that working families don't have to worry about where their next meal is going to come from, right? How do we make sure we tackle crime, not just at the addressing guns, but at the root cause? It's an economic issue. It's making sure certain communities have the same opportunity to thrive as other communities. When you look at zip code 6106, my zip code I live in, the median income in that zip code is $15,000. And then when you look at Clayton, it's $90,000. So it's being able to make sure that people have that same opportunity, making sure that it's not just working for some, but working for everybody in the state. And I think Nicole is going to address that.
Pat White in the 63901, I think Governor Parsons is going to do quite well. Can Nicole Galloway cut into those margins and make this a competitive race?
You know what, I think what my folks need to look at is if there's an anti-labor bill that comes across the desk, who's going to veto that? Now, I like the governor. I think he's a nice guy. We stood with him on the gas tax, went to rallies with him, and I agree with Representative Murphy. I think he's level-headed. But if a right-to-work bill comes across his desk, will he sign it? I believe he would. Would Nicole Galloway veto it? I believe she would.
I think you're probably right about that. Probably not for the last time I ask you this, but with a minute left, Rasheen Aldridge, who won the week?
I would say the House Democrats won the week. I know there was a special session called around taxes and vehicles, but at the end of the day, there's so many more pressing issues right now that we need to talk about. Wages need to continue to rise. We need to make sure that people's homes have the same opportunity as other people's homes. So the House Democrats definitely won.
Who won the week?
Well, whether you agree with her or not, Jane Duker on Twitter outed the Twitter
Force
trolls.
of nature. Wow, force of nature. Who won the week?
Rob Vescovo. We unanimously elected him the next Speaker of the House.
Congratulations, Representative Vescovo.
And he well deserved it. He was a great floor leader and will be this year.
It's a good pick. Who won the week?
We're a week late, but I'm going to say organized labor because of Labor Day. And we're at a 50-year high as far as popularity across the country at 64%, and we're riding high right now.
I'm going to say Kelley Brown. People talk about special sessions take a long time. Well, this special session was done. And the fact that it didn't erupt into a multiple-day filibuster, those don't remember the China hub situation. Something simple became very complicated. Kelley Brown, a lot of communication. I think he won the week. Hope you'll win the week next week by joining us here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics, sponsored by the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts, SPIRE, and Sterling Bank.